What is the Boundary Waters Canoe Area? The Boundary Waters Canoe Area, or BWCA, is a 2 million acre preserved wilderness in northern Minnesota. There's limited lakes for motorboat use, while all others are paddle boat only. There's around 60 lakes and rivers throughout the Boundary Waters, with a lot of wildlife. What is sulfide mining? Sulfide mining is the mining that lets topsoil be dug up, giving easier access to rain to the sulfide-filled soil below, therefore running into lakes, rivers, and groundwater. So what makes sulfide mining so dangerous? Sulfide mining is the combination of acids and other toxic chemicals that create the runoff that goes into our bodies of water. First is acid mine and drainage. While sulfates are usually harmless underground, they become highly acidic when exposed to air and rainwater. Next is sulfates. Sulfates are harmful to all sorts of aquatic plants. Mercury, which is a liquid chemical, is absorbed into fish and aquatic plants as well. And lastly is other heavy metals, which include arsenic, copper, nickel, and lead that are toxic to fish, plants, and humans.
The Boundary Waters is a wilderness area unlike any other. I think there's a part of it that really is essential for the human soul. We don't have very many places like that left on Earth.
There's fewer places in the world where you can hear, that absolute silence. Really, it became a destination for me for the rest of my life.
The Friends of the Boundary Waters were formed to help pass legislation that would permanently protect the Boundary Waters as wilderness. I think the important thing to realize is that the Boundary Waters is protected, but it's not safe. And there are really big issues facing it.
This is copper nickel mining largely that's been proposed at the very edge of the wilderness. It has really long-lasting implications. The sulfides that are unearthed from this mining operation create sulfuric acid. And so that makes water systems, whether they're lakes or rivers or streams, highly acidic. Sulfuric acid can then further leach additional heavy metals out of the rock that they're flowing over. So you get what are toxic levels of heavy metal contaminants presenting itself as a human health risk. These are long-term consequences we have to think about as a state.
The threat of that sulfuric acid and other metals and toxic metals coming into the watershed of the Boundary Waters is very, very disturbing. Our goal is not to let that happen at all.
We have looked around the world and around the country. There is not a single mine of this type that operates in sulfide ores that has done it without polluting its waters. Not one. Why in the world would we really think that this could be done right here in such a water-rich environment?
I don't think a lot of people understand or even know that there are new mines proposed or understand what the risks are and what the implications of those mines could be. And that doesn't seem like a very good way to make a decision. It is an incredibly beautiful landscape. It's unique in Minnesota. I just think that's something worth defending and passing along.
What is being proposed in Minnesota? Several mining companies are currently exploring Minnesota for their perfect soil for sulfide mining. Since 2008, mining companies have applied for over 100 permits to drill on public land. In November of 2009, Polymet Mining Corporation became the very first company to release a draft for environmental impact for their mining. And then this draft was deemed environmentally unacceptable in 2010. So what exactly needs to be done in Minnesota to stop sulfide mining? President Obama, Congress, and Minnesota's government must oppose the development of the massive Twin Metals Minnesota mine, which is the major player in sulfide mining in the Midwest. And they must also defend the Boundary Waters region and help the protection of the mining zone around this area as well. If the sulfide mining was to take place, how will this affect future generations? If the mining is permitted, the Boundary Waters and its clean water will be irreplaceably harmed by acid mine drainage. Here, how are you personally connected to the Boundary Waters canoe area?
Well, the Boundary Waters is a place that I've enjoyed going even when I was a kid. I was up there for a summer camp and really learned to enjoy it. And I have spent a lot of time near the Boundary Waters, hunting and fishing and those kind of things.
Okay, very cool. So I've actually been there myself along with my brother, Brandon. And how do you feel like this is a place that everyone should experience, and why do you think that?
Well, I think it's really unique because a couple reasons. Because it's someplace like no other place in our country that's so secluded and remote, and it's also something that is right on the border with the U.S. and Canada, and it's kind of shared. So you can move back and forth between the two countries, and it doesn't really matter where you are, and that's kind of unique to our country. So it's something that really is special, and not something you can find anyplace else.
So kind of going from the Boundary Waters to the other aspect of my discussion, I guess, is sulfide mining. Do you know what sulfide mining is?
I know a little bit about it. Yeah, I've read about it and heard about it in the news lately.
Okay, so what do you think it is?
Well, as I understand, they're evaluating an area up in northern Minnesota for, I think, copper mining, which has as a byproduct, some of the potential for pollution and things like that. And so it's controversial.
Okay, very cool. So how do you think this type of mining will affect such like a natural wonder like the Boundary Waters if they do it there?
I think the problem is it's hard to say because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
It's something that's happening on such a large scale, and it's not something they've done before, and it's certainly not something they've done that close to another, a nature area like that. So part of the problem is that we just don't know what the effect will be.
Sure.
And there's also potential for a positive effect in terms of jobs and opportunities for helping people, but it's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah. So the last question is, so if this mining was to take place up there, the good and the bad, how do you think it would affect our future generation?
Well, I think it's definitely got the potential to, because the mine, again, as I understand it, they're trying to sort of trap in a lot of the waste products that are created in mining and trying to keep it sealed and monitor it. And they're asking the mining company to put money aside for a long time after, decades after they're done. In case something happens. But I just don't know, what the guarantees are that money will be there even after the mining company is gone, and maybe they'll be out of business or, be acquired by somebody. There won't be anybody to kind of go after to fix problems if they come up unexpectedly. So it's really hard to know. It could affect us for a very long time if things don't go as expected, and some of that byproduct turns out to be more harmful.
Sure.